Welcome back to our project. I've got a couple of young men here from Mahalo Heating and Air Conditioning that are going to be installing the duct work, including the plenum, for distributing the climate-controlled air into the downstairs of the house. Now they're coming with their own plan that is a result of the calculations that Tom Gogol Jr. has developed for this house, for this system. We'll have much more to say about that in the future, but today they're just putting in the duct work after the plumbing's been put in, and it will all be inspected along with the underfloor framing first part of next week so we can get moving forward. Now, in the previous episode, I mentioned that plumbing happens before the HVAC because it's fussy. Waste and vent has to go where waste and vent has to go. But you may notice as you watch these guys put in the ducts that the water, the hot and cold water, is not installed yet. And that's because it's a little more flexible, a lot more flexible than waste and vent. And in this case, the water's not in, but the ducting is going in. This is mostly due to the scheduling of Mahalo and Phil Rokas and when they could get there and who could get there first. And so I'm comfortable letting the ductwork go in before Phil puts his PEX pipe in the subfloor area. Now, just because ducting is more flexible than sewer lines, it doesn't mean that it's completely flexible. There are areas that have to be dedicated to the ducting if you want your system to operate at maximum efficiency. Mahalo has a computer software program, and Tom Gogol Jr. knows how to input the data from the blueprints, the room sizes and the window locations and the R values in the walls and in the ceilings and in the floor, and the software spits out the answers about duct sizes and length of runs and where the plenum should be, and all these sorts of things are specified, and the closer you can get to what the software recommends, the better the system is going to work, and the smaller the energy consumption will be to keep this house comfortable. Ducts are sealed with tape, zip ties, mastic, sheet metal screws, really whatever it takes, and the goal is to make the system airtight. Well, not exactly airtight because it's transporting air from the unit, the air handler that's in the basement, into the plenum where it's distributed into all of the ducts evenly and then into the rooms where people are living. And so it's not airtight, but it is not leaking in the air into the crawlspace because the crawlspace is not conditioned. And in this case, the crawlspace is not insulated. That's why the ducting is insulated. That's why they're paying close attention to making sure that the air inside this plenum that's going into these rooms doesn't get out until it is discharged into the living area. Now, it may turn out that the best laid plans of mice and men and contractors and HVAC installers and plumbers can go awry, right? I mean, there can be interference between plumbing and ducts, but in this case, we were lucky, and there was zero interference. Plumbing is where plumbing needs to be, ducting is where ducting needs to be, and I'm looking forward to a smooth and trouble-free interaction with my plumber, my HVAC contractor, and whoever it is that ultimately will be paying the energy costs to live in this house. Now I am having Mahalo put these ducts in the Crawlspace today because it's just so much easier than waiting until the decking is on, till later, when all of their ducts and all of their metalwork and all of their registers and everything would have to be transported through the Crawlspace access and across the visqueen and into its position in the dark, everything working overhead, registers cut into the existing subfloor and then fastened and I do not mind holding off on the carpenter work for a day or two to let these guys work in the light with good access so that if there is a problem they can see to fix it, and in the long run it's going to save me money to adjust the carpenter schedule in order to facilitate the most efficient scheduling for the plumber and for the HVAC contractor. The ducts of a heating and air conditioning system are the pipes. Let's call it a pipe. In this case, a flexible pipe that transport the cooled or heated air to where you're living. There are a couple of rules that I know about, and I don't know much about this, that apply to ducts. And the first is they need to be insulated so you don't have heat loss. Insulated. The second is they need to be as straight as possible. You need to have as few bends and twists and turns and ups and downs as you can to reduce line friction. That is why a hard pipe, a sheet metal duct, is a better duct than a flexible duct. But it's so expensive to put in that residential applications are just they're scarce. You'll find it in commercial work, you'll find it in industrial work, but the overwhelming majority of cases in residential work are flexible insulated ducts. But when it's put in with care, like this system is, where it is straight and level with a minimum of ups and downs, a minimum of twists and turns, you reduce the line friction to a manageable level and can balance the discharging air. There are other ways to balance how much air gets into individual spaces, but the first and best way is to try to keep your duct runs about the same length. The elephant in the living room concerning HVAC, which is air conditioning, which is conditioning or heating or cooling or humidifying or dehumidifying the air in your living space, is that it is entirely climate and geography dependent. Your needs where you live may be way different for climate control than it is here in Southern Oregon. This is a very gentle climate. This is a climate where the temperature swings are not huge, where it doesn't get all that cold and it doesn't get all that hot, and the average temperature is pretty forgiving. And Mahalo Heating and Air Conditioning here, someone that I've been using for, I think, maybe 9 years, is really good at this. Tom Gogol Jr. and his crew that he's put together, they have the technology and they have all the tools and they have all of the attention to detail that I feel that I need to put a system in this house that's affordable, it's long-lasting, and it's efficient. The heating and air conditioning unit that will provide climate control for the downstairs of this house attaches right here. Now we're not putting it in right now because I've got a long ways to go before this house is waterproof and before all the work down here is done, and so this will be the last thing that goes in down here. This system, designed by Mahalo Heating and Air Conditioning, is just right for this house in this climate, and I have all the confidence in the world that it's going to work great. I have no idea what you might need in your house where you live.